Let's say you get some data from an external API that looks like this. You get the basic stuff for a user like ID, name, age, etc. Now you need to add some logic to process this data, and in Python it will look something like this. This way we get a lot of issues. We could get a really messy data, like maybe the ID is missing or the age is passed as a string, and our function will accept everything regardless. Many beginners at this point will start adding custom validation and casting functions around it to make it work. That could take a lot of time and it will become a big mess really fast. So, one thing we could do to improve this is to add type hints. This helps understand the data and the IDE could help us more. But we still could get wrong data at runtime since there is no real runtime validation. It's basically still a dictionary-based chaos. A bit more experienced developer would use Dataclasses. Now we have a lot better structure and cleaner code, but we're still missing validation. There's also no automatic type conversion. For example, the age is still a string of 78 and it will be accepted with no issue. To fix all of these issues, we'll now take a look at Pydantic. Now the code looks so much cleaner. Plus we get automatic conversions. The string 28 will be converted to a number as well as the string for the ID. We also get automatic validation. If we get wrong values, we'll immediately get an error. For example, a field could be missing, the type could be wrong and it can be converted automatically. Or even the role could be wrong in this case, since we defined it as an enum and it has to be one of these three allowed values. The data is now clean, typed and predictable. Perfect when working with external systems. Plus, it's easily serializable. We can convert the Pydantic model to JSON and vice versa with simple built-in functions. Now, let's go to the editor to see this in action. So, here we have a Python file that is containing only a dictionary that's going to be acting as our API payload that we're going to try to process. First, we need to install the Pydantic module, which I already have done with the UV project. And you can do it with whatever dependency management you're using, whether it's pip, UV, or something else. So, let's see what we have. First, we can add the role that we're going to be using for this field to validate. So we want to be either admin, user, or guest. And this is not Pydantic specific, but it is compatible with it. Then we'll add the profile, which is this one, this object that is nested inside the user object. And it will have bio and age. And this is using the base model of the Pydantic library, so we need to import that. And we're going to use the main user object that contains the role, which is the enum, and the profile, which is the base model. So to parse this, we're going to create one function, and we can see that it's really easy to pass the whole data because it is compatible with what we have in our model structure. And we can just pass all the values as they are. Then we create this user using this new parse user function, and we can just see what this gives us. Let's run this. I'll use the debugger to see this easily. So we have the user. We can immediately see the ID is 123 as an integer, even though here it was passed as a string. So because the type annotation here is integer, it's expecting an integer, and if it is possible to be converted, it will convert it. Otherwise it will throw an error. We have the name. We also have the profile object, which we can see it contains the bio and the age. Again, it is converted to an integer and initially it was inserted as a string. And for example, now the biggest benefit of using Pydantic is the automatic validation. Let's see, for example, if let's say the name is missing, the role is something that is not acceptable by the enum, and let's say we have the age as something that cannot be converted automatically to an integer. So if we run this, we can immediately see that Pydantic throws runtime error and we have this validation exception. We have 3 validation errors for the user, and it is really clear to define what is the error. So we have the name. It says that the field is required and it is missing. We have an error with the role. It says that the input should be admin, user, or a guest. This is defined in the enum. And inside profile, the age, input should be a valid integer, unable to parse the string as an integer. This means that it tried to parse it, but it could not, so that's why throwing this error. And we can immediately fix that, since we can easily identify where the error is. Now to use this user model in the code, it's even easier. because now we can access the parameters directly, and the IDE will help us as well. Like if we want to access the profile and let's say the bio. Now we get this help from the IDE, and this is really clean and easy to understand. This is all for now. Pydantic has a lot more features, and if you want to know more about it, please leave a comment.